Behind the palace walls, the crowns, and the curtsies lies 1,000 years of secrets, murder, betrayal, affairs that toppled kings, and scandals that shook the throne. The royal family's glittering image hides a history far darker than the fairy tale, and number 1 remains an unsolved mystery 5 centuries later. Welcome back to Affluent Aces. Today we're counting down the top 10 darkest royal family scandals, the disgraces, the cover-ups, and the crimes that history almost buried. Stick around because they get darker as we go. Let's begin. At number 10, the gambling scandal that dragged a future king into the witness box. In 1890, at a country house party at Tranby Croft, a wealthy guest named Sir William Gordon Cumming was accused of cheating at baccarat, a card game that was actually illegal at the time. Present at the table was none other than the Prince of Wales, the future King Edward VII, a notorious lover of gambling. To hush things up, the guests made Gordon Cumming sign a pledge never to play cards again, but the secret leaked. He sued for slander, and the resulting trial forced the heir to the throne to testify publicly. The monarchy was humiliated, exposing the prince's appetite for vice and dragging the crown into a very public mess. At number 9, the royal woman erased from history for 3 decades. Before George I became King of Great Britain, he married Sophia Dorothea of Celli. The marriage was loveless, and both took lovers. But when Sophia Dorothea's romance with a dashing Swedish count was discovered, the consequences were brutal. The count mysteriously vanished in 1694, almost certainly murdered, and his body was never found. Sophia Dorothea was swiftly divorced and imprisoned in a remote castle. There she remained for more than 30 years, cut off from her own children until her death. When George ascended the British throne, his former wife remained locked away behind bars, completely unacknowledged. It was a chilling display of how a royal husband could simply erase a woman who dared to stray, ensuring she would never wear the crown. At number 8, the king who gave up his crown then cozied up to a dictator. In 1936, Edward VIII stunned the world by abdicating the throne after less than a year, because the British establishment refused to accept his relationship with Wallis Simpson, a twice-divorced American. It was a constitutional earthquake. After stepping down to marry her, the scandal only deepened. In 1937, the former king, now demoted to the Duke of Windsor, and Wallis visited Nazi Germany and were photographed smiling and meeting with Adolf Hitler. Throughout the era, suspicions lingered about Edward's deep sympathies toward the fascist regime. The man who had been Britain's king was now an international embarrassment and a potential liability. His story remains one of the most dramatic and unsettling chapters in modern royal history. Love, duty, and dangerous politics colliding. At number 7, the Queen suspected of murdering her own husband. Mary, Queen of Scots, lived a life soaked in intrigue. In 1567, her second husband, Lord Darnley, was killed when the house he was staying in was destroyed by an explosion, and his body was found strangled in the garden. Suspicion fell heavily on Mary when, just months later, she married the Earl of Bothwell, the chief suspect in the murder. Scotland erupted. Forced to abdicate, Mary fled to England, throwing herself on the mercy of her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I. Instead of safety, she found nearly 19 years of captivity before finally being executed for plotting against the English crown. Whether she was truly guilty or cleverly framed is still fiercely debated today. At number 6, the royal marriage so toxic the king tried to divorce his wife in public. When the future George IV married Caroline of Brunswick in 1795, the loathing was instant and mutual. He reportedly found her repulsive. She found him cold and unfaithful. They separated almost immediately. Years later, when George became king, he was determined to be rid of her, launching a sensational parliamentary investigation to prove she had committed adultery. The public, however, largely sided with the mistreated Caroline. The lurid affair gripped the nation. The final humiliation came at his 1821 coronation, when Caroline arrived to claim her place as queen, only to be turned away at the doors of Westminster Abbey. She died just weeks later, the rejected queen who was never crowned. At number 5, the medieval king, deposed by his own queen, then killed in captivity. Edward II, who ruled from 1307, was a deeply unpopular monarch, partly because of his intense devotion to a series of court favorites who were showered with power and wealth. His neglected queen, Isabella, eventually turned against him. Together with her ally, Roger Mortimer, she invaded England, overthrew her husband, and had him imprisoned. In 1327, Edward died in captivity at Berkeley Castle. Rumors swirled that he had been gruesomely murdered, and the grisly legend of his death became infamous, though many historians now believe it may have been later propaganda. Either way, a crowned king of England had been toppled by his own wife and left to die behind locked doors. At number 4, the marriage breakdown that nearly broke the monarchy itself. When Prince Charles married Lady Diana Spencer in 1981, the world watched a fairy tale wedding. The reality was anything but. The marriage was strained by Charles's enduring relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles and by the immense pressures of royal life. The cracks spilled spectacularly into public view. In a famous 1995 television interview, Diana spoke of there being 3 of us in the marriage. The couple divorced in 1996. Then, in August 1997, Diana was killed in a car crash in Paris, sending a wave of grief around the globe and prompting fierce criticism of how the royal family responded. It was a tragedy that reshaped public attitudes toward the monarchy for a generation. At number 3, the modern scandal that brought a prince crashing down. Andrew, the second son of Queen Elizabeth II, became engulfed in controversy over his association with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. A 2019 BBC interview, meant to clear his name, was widely judged a catastrophe. He was later sued by Virginia Giuffre, who alleged he had sexually abused her as a teenager, claims Andrew has always firmly denied. In 2022, he settled the civil case out of court, but the fallout only deepened. In late 2025, King Charles stripped him of his remaining royal styles, forcing him to surrender the Duke of York title and his right to be called Prince or Royal Highness. Known simply as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, his legal woes hit absolute rock bottom in February 2026 when he was arrested by British police on suspicion of misconduct in public office following fresh leaks of Epstein-related documents. It is a historic collapse from which the monarchy may never fully recover. At number 2, the king who sent his own wives to the executioner's block. Henry VIII is infamous for having 6 wives, but 2 of them met truly horrifying ends. His second wife, Anne Boleyn, the woman he'd torn the country away from the Catholic Church to marry, was arrested in 1536 on charges of adultery, incest, and treason, widely believed by historians to have been fabricated. She was beheaded at the Tower of London. Just 6 years later, his 5th wife, the young Catherine Howard, suffered the same fate, executed for alleged infidelity. A king disposing of his queens by sending them to the scaffold remains one of the most chilling abuses of royal power in English history. Marriage to Henry could be a literal death sentence. And at number 1, the chilling royal mystery that has never been solved. In 1483, following the death of King Edward IV, his 2 young sons, 12-year-old Edward and his 9-year-old brother Richard, were placed in the Tower of London. Their uncle Richard, Duke of Gloucester, was meant to protect them. Instead, he had himself crowned King Richard III, declaring the boys illegitimate. And then the young princess simply vanished. They were never seen alive again, and were almost certainly murdered. For over 500 years, the prime suspect has been Richard himself, though others have been blamed too. Bones later discovered in the tower may belong to them. The fate of the princess in the tower remains the darkest unsolved mystery in royal history. And there you have it. 10 of the darkest scandals ever to rock the royal family. Which one shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into the monarchy's hidden history, smash that like button and subscribe to Affluent Aces with notifications on. Until next time.